Hi there, hi my dear followers and listeners. This is the Women Who Tech podcast, and I'm your host Lisa. I'm a product designer by day and also do the podcasting with you. So today's episode is also very special because I think it's the first time that a guest, Giulia Sale, reached out to me and said that hey, we actually have a lot in common because she is the founder of The Art of Bragging, confidence coach, and public speaker. And today I'm gonna ask many questions to Giulia and understand what the whole art of bragging is, what's it like to be the CEO of the company, what's the confidence gap, and so much more. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them under the episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Instagram. And let's roll out. Hi, Giulia. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm really good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm really, really happy that we meet and we have so much things to talk about because you're absolutely right. We really have a lot in common. And as I also been mentioning that the podcast is created with the purpose to support women to talk about not easy topics. And it starts with the imposter syndrome, gender biases, and perhaps that would be the right topics for us today. And I'm really curious what you do in your ordinary day and what kind of field you operate in professionally. Because when you reach out, I thought like, okay, it's like so many. You had your podcast, now you're the founder and CEO of your own company, and in general, it's all about the confidence and coaching. So please tell us.
Well, it's messy. Let me tell you that. It's really, really messy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Consider that I just started the art of bragging literally in January officially. And I'm only just starting to get clients. Actually work in a yoga studio as a yoga teacher and sometimes a reception part time, just to pay my rent here. So that's why this makes it really messy because I might be working some days on Monday mornings and things on Thursday evenings. So it's pretty much understanding the schedule and working on this rota model. But when it's not as messy and as chaotic, I do like to wake up. I'm a coffee addict. So I do like to wake up, have my
I've doubled
coffee.
down in you on this one. I just love the coffee. Do you have like a special kind of coffee you're craving every morning?
You know what? I think every year that I drink coffee it gets stronger and stronger. So just recently it was an oat flat white, but now I'm going for Americanos with a little bit of oat milk. So yeah, it's been changing. I guess it depends.
Evolving.
It really depends. But yeah, so I do like to start my day actually reading articles on what's new, especially in the FemTech ecosystem, which is the space where I operate the most, but I guess we can talk about that later. And right now, because that's what my business needs, it's a lot of reaching out, talking at events, finding new clients, having clients calls for my actual current clients, and doing podcasts just like this one, going to networking events. So it's very much people facing, which I really love. I love to chat. I love to connect. So yeah, and then I like to have a nice 1 hour lunch break because my brain it's I get very much overstimulated. I live nearby a really nice park, so I walk around there. And yeah, I would love to say what an ordinary day looks like for me. It's just really messy right now. And yeah.
It doesn't sound chaotic. It's just like full of many activities and bouncing and balancing between the professional work, your own clients, then yourself, and for example your own yoga activities and so on. So it just it's a lot. I think that's the schedule that I would not really expect, but rather would not be surprised with when I hear that you're running your own company, and that's actually a lot, and it's just like every woman who does that shall be praised. So yeah, it's really awesome that you do that. Would you be up to tell us the story how that started? What pushed you towards the idea of your own company and up to the point that you're actually doing that? Because so many people having just the dreams or the considerations of running their own company, even like a small one, but so little actually come to the point when it's not the dream, it's a plan, it's a life.
Yeah, I really love this question. For me specifically, it came out of a need and also building from very small projects to bigger and bigger and bigger ones. So getting used to the space. To be honest, I've always dreamed to be an entrepreneur. I knew that's what I would end up doing eventually. I would always see my dad being an entrepreneur. I studied entrepreneurship, disruptive innovation. So I've always been very thrown into the space. I also worked and freelance for many startups before until one day I got really sick when I was around 21 and I developed something called visual nose syndrome, which is really weird. It's a really odd condition to have, but it basically affects my hearing and my vision. It's much better now, but it's still kind of there, and it's basically a nervous system dysregulation. But that was very much a wake up call for me to take matters into my own hands and get better. That's where I got into understanding how broken the healthcare system really is, especially towards women. A lot of people couldn't understand what was going on with my body. They would just say, "I just your menstrual cycle, you're just stressed." All this gaslighting that happens quite a lot to many, many women. So that pushed me to build my community business, which was Six Pillars at the time, where we were helping, more than helping, providing affordable solutions to women to take care of their health in more of an holistic way. After that, I also launched my podcast, like you were saying, which is Uncensored Chats, where we're trying to debunk taboos in women's well-being. So I was very much in the space of creating awareness towards what was going on in the women's health world. In the meantime, I was also working for a health tech and femtech accelerator, so trying to help early stage founders and their businesses grow and scale with big corporates. And that was a very steep learning curve for me because I don't come from a medical background. I know nothing about wellness. I know nothing about healthcare, what it is. So I learned so much, but also got to learn everything that was going on in the startup ecosystem, the difference between women raising funds and men raising funds, and also the need for women's health solutions and how hard it actually is to come up with solutions for women's health. So I decided to switch from more the awareness piece to focusing on the solutions towards the women's health issues that are there, because there are a lot of campaigners and awareness individuals that are building massive awareness around women's health and they're doing an amazing job, but I want to be more on the solution part. And that is where I got into speaking to femtech founders, women's health founders, health tech founders, understanding their needs, especially women founders. And I realized that there are so many gender biases that, well, not I realized, I knew, but I just thought we would be doing better in terms of that. But you could
Yeah.
see whenever,
In 21st century, right?
yeah,
We're supposed to.
exactly. And also looking at so many demo pitches, being part of the accelerator, you really see how women's health is not seen as urgent or as a need or is seen too niche, even if 51% of the population is women's. And yeah, like I was saying, all these like gender biases that fall into it, and how hard it is for a femtech founder to raise funds and find clients and really get out there. So I made it my mission to help 100,000 women start, scale, and grow femtech businesses by 2035 because we do need their solutions. And a lot of women out there that I speak to, they get stuck from what I like to call from in their MVP stage or in their creating the builder stage. And they focus so much time on their business that they don't really focus on themselves, on actually stepping forward, because most of the women that I talk to, they are ready to get out there, find clients, find investors, but they just don't really know it yet. They overthink a lot, and I wouldn't blame them because we're so surrounded by gender biases. Obviously, they're gonna overthink everything because as women, we're so scrutinized. So that was a very long way to say this is how I got into the space, because I started to study gender biases. I realized how these gender biases are creating a massive confidence gap, not only in the startup ecosystem, but in the workplace, in our just everyday lives. And I want to
Everywhere,
do
yeah.
something about that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everywhere in each field, in the professional field, in the personal, and also when it comes to the business. And when you have the idea, I'm just also following up of what you said. We overthink, and we also kind of have reasons for that. But at the same time, we are also being blocked by our own fears and anxieties. And some of them, I mean, of course, you're gonna face them as a woman. But at the same time, the whole idea is actually, yeah, to hold those fears, but not let them block you, and on the way to start up your own business. And that's just awesome that you have such a clear idea what you want to do. So you just dropped the numbers. You said how many?
1,000 women, and I do it through my coaching, my
100,000.
workshops. Yes,
Gosh, wow, it's ambitious.
yes, I need this. Well, the world needs this really. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Actually, the whole society needs that. Not only women who have the ambitions, but also actually, the whole society. This is just women equally trying to equally contribute to the economy, to the startup world as much as men do. And it's just so awesome that you have a uh, very much appreciating mission. That sounds like a mission, and also like with the clear goals and clear numbers in it. Just love that. I want to ask you more about the portrait of your common client, of the founder of some in a FemTech. So how would that woman look like, sound like? Was the startup, was the stage her startup might be when she approaches you, or you just meet, and then what's happened?
Yeah. So they do come at different stages, but anyway, depending on the stage, is very much at the very, very early stage of a business. I have some founders who, for example, have an idea, but they don't know how to develop it, or let me say, they do know it, but there's a lot happening in their mindset and their brain that tells them that they're not the right person. So they might have an idea, which most of the time comes from their own experience. They want to do something about this, and they come to me to work on what's going on in their mindset, and also giving them a little bit of mentoring on what are actually the next steps, because it can be very overwhelming. When you have an idea, you can go very many different directions, and you kind of want to do all of them, but you end up doing none of them because there is so much. So my best friend's boyfriend always tells me, how do you eat an elephant? Piece by piece. So that's what we're
Yeah,
doing. We're looking at this big monster, we're trying to make it breaking down piece by piece and making it a little bit more tangible, and also
yeah,
building confidence on asking people questions, building a pitch, learning how to pitch, how to promote yourself, how to talk to investors. And there are also other femtech founders that come to me that are a little bit in the later stage where they have an MVP and it's time to talk to investors. But that's really scary. And a lot of the times, what I see is that they work so much on this MVP, this minimal viable product. They work so much on the business, but they don't work on actually selling it because they think that it's never ready. It's never ready, or they're never ready. My proposition is helping them go from MVP to impact, let's say. So basically, coaching them through talking to investors, booking high quality calls with relevant investors in the space. Also, how to deal with rejection, because I don't like to sugarcoat it. Rejection is going to happen many,
yeah,
many, many times. But
yeah.
also how to handle success, because we talk a lot about fear of rejection, but there is a lot of fear of success as well that gets in the way. Like, can you actually see yourself having a successful business and helping millions or many women you want to help with your products and services? So this would be the two type of women that come to me for the coaching.
Gotcha, exactly. I really love what you said. There is a fear of failure, and of course, every rejection feels not good. Also, there is the fear of success that is really interesting also to acknowledge. In psychology, that would be some sort of scenario that you're going through together. Cross-generational scenario. It just very much rhymes with what my guest, the career growth coach, and I were talking last time in last episode, where it's all tied to the self-sabotage. Might be tied because of course there are different factors in it and aspects. Also very much helpful to give yourself a minute and think about it. Am I actually fearing the success? I want to also double down a bit on I guess on the FabTech, on those female co-founders you work with. So it's an early stage that they would they reach out, that you would work with them. Just if you would be able to give us some glimpse on your work approach. So let's imagine if I were these. This woman who got the idea, that'd be like maybe somewhere in design field, so also that our audience can relate. But for example, I worked as a UI UX designer, motion designer, or product designer for a while, and now I feel like I have the idea how to step out. Maybe there can be the idea of the platform, of the software for the other designers that I can empathize with, and I know what they need. And now there is a technology that I can use. It can be AI driven. It can be backed up with other technologies. So I have the idea. Maybe it's of course more tangible than I'm just describing, but just for the sake of the exercise, I have the idea. I think I have the resources and time to make it happen. I'm feeling energized and having a good impulse. I want to do that. I want to try. At the same time, I do not have a plan. And if I were to reach out to you as a coach, as a confidence coach, and as a founder of the Art of Bragging, what our first sittings would look like? What are we gonna talk about, just to unblock me, and that I would get the glimpse what to expect?
Yes. So the first thing is we are understanding really whether that is your goal, whether that goal fits your lifestyle or the lifestyle that you want to have. A lot of us, especially really ambitious women, like the women that I work for, they're really, really ambitious. And what happens is, like you said, you have all this energy, all these ambitions, but there's no direction. And that is the worst place that you can be as an ambitious person, because it feels very frustrating. So what happens, even if you have an idea, you don't know what direction to go because, like you said, you don't know the space, you don't know how to approach certain people, you don't know what the step by step is. So the first thing is we're understanding your product, your clients, your niche. What do you need to actually make it happen? And we create a nice step by step plan for you to make that happen. So we start to give a little bit more direction to that ambition. And again, we're making a really big idea into a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller. After that, for some people, we need to work on the fear of commitment. Because when I say we need to niche down, that is commitment. That feels scary because what we tend to think is if I talk to everyone, I'm gonna catch someone one day. But ultimately, if you talk to everyone, you're technically talking to no one. And I go through this myself. For me to say I want to talk to FemTech founders was really like it took me a while. I kept tiptoeing around my actual ideal clients, getting nowhere until I decided, okay, I am good enough to commit to this clientele and my product is good enough for this specific niche. Because that's what you need to do at the beginning. If you're one person or maybe two people, co-founders, you need to niche, you need to really be specific with what you want to do. And then we work more on the mindset piece. I do a lot of work on limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are beliefs that are born when you're a kid. Everyone has them. There is no escape, and also there is no way for you to get rid of them. Your limiting belief is always going to come back to you. The only thing that you can do is being aware of it and counteract it. Whenever you feel moments of self-doubt, you realize that there is this one thought that comes up all the time. It's basically the way you see reality, it's the way you live your life. It comes back into patterns and patterns in your life. An example, my limiting belief is that I am unlikable. So I was doing a talk a few weeks ago at the Oxford University, and I kept telling myself, who am I to go to this talk? Like, there's PhD students, medical students there, there are amazing people. Who am I to speak to these people? I wanted to cancel, I wanted to call in sick. And those are all mechanisms that our brain was giving me to protect me because I think that I am unlikable. So what I had to do, it was sit down, tell myself, Giulia, you are okay. You are indeed likable for all these reasons. So you go and give your talks. So whenever we talk about limiting beliefs, you identify the bottom line, the bottom of the iceberg that is not allowing you to achieve your true potential, underlying basically the story that you're telling yourself, and ultimately all the excuses that come up to you, because sometimes our brains give us excuses that we believe. All those excuses are technically your brain's way to keep you safe and to keep you calm, which is not necessarily the best place to be if you want to advance. And don't get me wrong, sometimes excuses they're good. You know, if you're sick, obviously you can't go. That's not just an excuse that you can't go. So that's all fine. But yeah, so we talk about the limiting beliefs, and then after that we rewrite the story. A lot of founders, in this case, you might be telling me this actually happened on a coaching call. I did ask her permission to share because it was so good. She said, I'm not a founders because founders don't cry, founders don't fail, founders are incredible people. I said, okay, let's look into that. Where does that story of what a founder is come from, and why are you not that person? So we're looking at the story that they've written for their life and changing it to have a more positive outcome. And a lot of the people that come to me, they actually have transferable skills. So because we work in FemTech, a lot of people have a medical background, for example. They tell me, Julia, I am so confident saving lives, but when it comes to running a business, I don't think I can do it. I'm like, really? Like, really? So what we do, we look at all the skill set that they had in their previous jobs and transferring them into being a founder. And this doesn't only happen really with people that come from a clinical background, but everyone, because being a founder, even if you have a very specific skill, is going to feel very, very different. Even me, I started entrepreneurship in my own business, feels like everything that I've learned was pretty much useless. So we're looking at the skills and we're identifying the skills that make you a really good founder. So we're basically giving you the definition that you are a really good founder and that you can indeed do it. So these are more the ways that I work with my clients, and it's something that you can do on your own, really. And then depending on the clients, we work on skills. Do you want to perfect your pitch? Do you want to build more confidence? Do you want to reach out to people? Do you want to find a co-founder? Whatever it is that your goal is.
Awesome. Yeah, I really loved all the points that you said. Like you just took us by the hand and we went through the whole self-doubt that each woman, actually each human being has, and they are blocking us. And so awesome that you actually kind of beat your inner critic by a kind talk, by the transparent talk. I think, yeah, of course, being a co-founder is so much broader. It requires extra skills, but yeah, it's when you put it like that, when your client put it like that, like saving lives and being a co-founder, actually it's both is tough. But if you already are super good at the first one, the second one would also come. So it's just the matter of time and skills to be polished. There is so much in there. So of course we work in with the goal and making it more tangible, make it as a plan, steps by step, and answer the question what I need for that to fulfill that idea. And there is of course the coaching work, like you described very well. Do you also help female founders with the network, meaning that you rather recommend to I know, reach out, for example, to some venture company if you have the pool of them, and then follow up then with your client how it went, that the meeting with the venture, for example.
Yeah, so we can work a lot on mindset coaching and all this stuff, which is really, really, really important. But also, we talked about before, the ecosystem is fucked. Can I swear? I don't know.
Of
But
course, no, it's fine. Like in real world, yeah.
we give women courses and communities and all this stuff, but ultimately what women need is a good connection and someone who's ready to invest.
Mm-hmm.
So what I like to do is, okay, we're not just doing the coaching. How can we get you into the ecosystem and talking to the right people? I do have a list of 100 plus angel investors who are ready to invest in FemTech. I also divided them into what area of FemTech they want to invest in, whether it's fertility, menopause, all this stuff. So whenever they coach with me, they do get that place. They do get to reach out to the right people, as well as, I don't know, if they need a designer, if they need a tech person, if they just need someone to ask questions to, like an expert. So I do have that for them. And I also like to connect them with, for example, my recent client, she's building a fertility solution. So I told her, let me connect you with this person, this person, this person, or also other founders in the fertility space, because you do need to be in the community. So I do like to connect them with people this way. Obviously, I cannot go out there and pitch their business for them because nobody's going to know their business like they do. But yes, that's definitely something that I do, connecting them with the right people, because ultimately that's what really makes the difference.
Yeah.
Making sure that they follow up.
And follow up. Yeah, yeah, of course. So well said. Women need not only to boost up their confidence and work through their self-doubt, but also just be well connected, have the team, have those reliable shoulders of the partners and the team, and go and pitch yourself, for example, to the venture capitalists and so on. This is so great that you also tackled this part, and I bet it's never easy for co-founders, but yeah, there is a plan for that. When I saw your LinkedIn profile, there is one piece that stood out, and what you also mentioned there in our chat is the confidence gap, and it's so well put, because there is definitely the gender pay gap. As we know, there is depends on the country. Sometimes it's up to 20% from a few till the salary for the same position that is being paid for a male and female employee, and that's a lot. And of course, depending on the country, Germany, UK, or Scandinavian country is different, and we've seen some kind of improvement, but it's still there. And turns out we also have a confidence gap. How did you actually discover that phenomenon?
It was actually very random. Last year was really hard for me, talking about having lots of ambition but having no direction. I knew I wanted to do something, I just didn't know what, and I was going through that phase myself. And I picked up this book called The Confidence Code, which it just said confidence for women, and I thought, you know what, I need a little bit of that. Let me read this book. Turns out it was
Nice.
not how to be confident. It was a book about the confidence gap. It's written by Katie Kay and Claire Shipman. It's a really, really good book. If you want to know something about the confidence gap, that's the book that you have to pick up.
Then we're gonna link this recommendation in the description of the episode. So the confidence for women. Let's give it a read.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I just, while reading it, I thought nobody talks about this. And whenever I do my talk, whenever I talk about the confidence gap and in the way that it shows up, women are always like, I cannot unsee this now. I get, after my TEDx, I get friends being like, I'm on the tube and this is happening. I can't believe like this has been happening like all my life. I just never realized, because it happens in really subtle ways. But then when you look at the stats and the percentages, and you actually start to notice, you see this confidence gap happening all around you. I started to study the book, started doing a little bit more research into it, and I realized, oh, actually, there is so much of this in the startup ecosystem, and nobody's really talking about this. So that's how I got into it, and I'm just doing more research and trying to understand how to solve it.
Because I think it's definitely a thing. It's the real phenomena and real difference between man feeling and showing confidence, and how women show up. Just for example, at the job interviews at any pitch that we do, there is a strong feeling of the difference. It's always nice to see also the numbers and then realize that it might be something more huge and impactful than you think.
Yeah, true. And if we talk about like an example that everyone knows at this point, is whenever a woman is searching for a job, she would only apply to the job if she checks all the boxes in the job description, whereas a man would just go for the job even if they don't seem like the perfect candidate yet. And what I want to say with this confidence gap is, I really don't want to look at it as a man versus women issue. It's never really like this, and obviously we're always generalizing. It's more of a systemic issue. I like to say that we're all sexist in the construction, especially our generation. I like to believe that we just have systemic biases that have been ingrained into our brain since we were very, very little. So now we just live our life in this way. But all we need to do is, when we catch ourselves having a gender biased thought that happens, is just take a moment and realize where does this thought comes from. Is this woman in front of me being a bitch, or is she just showing confidence? So that's just a little parenthesis that I want to put there. But I have stats in regards to the startup ecosystem mainly, which I find really interesting, considering that they actually do not represent reality. And I'll explain that to you just after all of this. So 31% of women feel confident about investing compared to 44% of men. So that is more than 10% of a difference there. And then 39% of women, so 39, are confident in their capabilities to start a business compared to 55% of men feeling the same way. 32% of women versus 20% of men cite confidence as a major obstacle to career goals. So there is definitely a big difference in how confidence is affecting women versus how it's affecting men. And all of this comes from how hard it is for women to really be out there. From when we're really young, we praise girls for being good and compliant, where we empower young boys to go out there and make mistakes. We're surrounded in the social media world by unrealistic body images. We have role models of presidents, doctors, and entrepreneurs who are most of the time men. And then when we show confidence, we're seen as arrogant, bossy, instead of experts, leaders, and capable. So there's all these things that create these percentages, which is that's what I thought. I find it really frustrating because women are lowering their capabilities and they're not going for opportunities. But then when we look at the stats, these biases actually do not represent realities because female CEOs are 2 times more likely to run long sustaining businesses than men. Founder startups deliver 35% higher returns on average than male led ventures. And 20% of female led seed stage startups, so early stage startups, reach Series A, which is basically the top of the investment kind of
Wow.
pyramid that you can reach.
Yeah, that's
So,
impressive. That's just
yeah,
impressive. And the stats, the numbers talk for themselves.
yeah, so that's why I always like to share what the confidence gap is creating, but then the results just do not align with what we're believed. And again, it's not men versus women issue, but this confidence gap is creating a lot of missing opportunities, not just for women individually, but also for society and for economic growth.
Absolutely, yeah. Women are actually the half of the population of the society. If the half of us are blocked, it means that also the whole business field, the whole society cannot benefit of it. So it's just I would say, beneficial for so many people on so many layers. It's just awesome that we have the stats and it gives the feeling that we are not alone. Whenever you want to also start your own business as a female co-founder, and the confidence gap is real. We just got the numbers, so please consider that. And one thing that I would just want to add from myself is that whenever you have self-doubt and the stats are actually giving you the clue, yeah, they are real, and sometimes the gender biases are still there, it's so important just to understand that as of now, it might be it's the cultural thing. It's something that we all can have being infected by just a little. Even if you're a feminist, like I myself, we also can have all those a bit of biases, a bit of words that we learned, and then we can apply to other women or just to people. And what is important that yeah, it's there, but it doesn't mean that it should block you. That whenever you go to the stage and give it a pitch, if you're gonna think just only about the whole audience not judging you because you're a woman and you're showing off, for example, or being arrogant or being bossy there on the stage. If you just were gonna fix on that, then you're not right there in the moment. You're not living the moment mindfully. So it's the task would be I would imagine have that in mind, but not let you be fixated on that and blocked by that. And kind of as a theory of let them be and let it be there that way. But you do what you do, what is important for you. And every time it might be the positive reassurance that however there are the biases, as a woman you're still very capable and very impactful. And let's just go for the sake of this positive reassurance of things. Does it also resonate with you, like with that? Just have holding on or kind of keeping the biases in your mind, like yeah, it might happen, but still let's go on. Let's check the waters of the audience and see that it might be different this time.
Yeah, totally. The reason why I love to show the stats is because when we look at the confidence gap stats, as a woman, if you feel less confident, it's very valuable because that's how you were raised. Like,
Yeah.
it's not your fault. It's very valuable that you're having these thoughts. And actually, you second guessing everything technically makes you a really, really good founder, which is why the results show because you care about your business, you care about your clients, you care about your mission. You second guessing everything makes sure that you make the right decisions. You don't just go for it and that's it. Also, I don't think that women are less confident per se, but it's just the way we show confidence is very different. We have this role model of confidence that is really loud and takes up space and just takes action right away. And that is also, if you go to business school, that is the way that you're taught to do business. So when you don't go that way, you think that you're doing something wrong. But actually, that's what I love about the femtech space. There's a lot of collaboration happening. There is a lot of can we build locks and selling businesses? I don't need a 1 million investment round. I need less money, but I'm still mission driven. Yeah, just be aware of that. And also on remember the stats because yes, like you said, you might go for a pitch, people might be stereotyping you, putting you in a box. But the more women get over that, the more women get going, the more women show up as their most confident self, the more those gender biases are going to crumple down and we're going to find a more equal society. So it's very much about persistence and it's about resilience. This is why I do the confidence coach that I do. It's not because I think that women that I work with are not confident. They're maybe the most confident women that I know, but they get double the harshness and they need double the training because they can't give up. That's like the tough love sentence I like to tell them. You cannot afford to give up because there's women out there that are just looking for your solution to come out. They need it. So yeah, I get really passionate about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this thought. So whenever you come to this stage and give a pitch, you are actually role model for so many women around. And you're doing that not only for yourself, but in a way for the current generation, for the next generation of women. So by breaking the rules, by showing that, hey, many stuff is possible, and also FemTech as well. And I wanted to talk about this big term and big thing called gender bias. I think like some people would be curious but yet scared off by the term, because it's always like it's a fight, it's the issues between men and women, but actually it's not. It's the thing that we have to accept and think of that as a space that we can improve and that we can realize something new and learn about our culture and about ourselves more. And in there I want to just share with you the story of gender biases in a startup scene in Berlin. Some time ago, my friend, whose husband worked as a technical team lead in the startup, Berlin-based startup, dedicated to the sustainability. I don't remember the details of the startup and the name as well, but nevertheless, the sustainability startup was led by women, and they had a very solid idea. So it was a small team, but yet very capable. They got the first investment round, and as far as my friend knew, those leaders, those women, that was the moment of a pitch, and they even run a small experiment. I think it was a series of speeches, and for one speech exactly, one of the female leader asked her husband to show up and deliver the same speech as she could have done, and then later on they switched the places for the next speech, and it appeared that at that time when the husband was the guy who was on the stage and giving the same speech, it was so much more successful because they got more investors reaching out to them and more positive feedback. Although the content was the same, it was just the presentation. That's what the startup is about, but just the guy who presented the whole thing. I don't know the details, but I know that it was a small experiment that worked out in the end for their benefit. They got the investment round and so on, but they just been curious. Is that the thing that whenever that if I'm as a woman talking to the audience and sharing the same presentation, would it get different feedback, different response? It appeared yes. Full disclosure, unfortunately, this startup had problems and had to close, basically had to say goodbye to the team, and is not active anymore. I think it was the investment problems, but in the second round and when they were further with the implementation and marketing and so on, unfortunately. And that's why it also what makes a story sad, as it was a very cool FemTech startup in sustainability. But nevertheless, it just shows also that there are so many cool ideas and the women can do that, and they do that. And in there, I want to ask you if you were ever faced or just witnessed any gender biases in this startup scene.
Totally, what you said probably resonates with many people. Unfortunately, only 2% of all venture capital funding goes to women. So if a male co-founder as a woman co-founder, their chances of raising investment drops of 98%. That is a lot, and that showed in your example. That really showed, and that happens so much with me. I've been in the ecosystem for years, and I went to this panel networking event a month ago, and I was sitting next to someone, and they were telling me about their 15 startups, what they were doing. They didn't ask a question, and the whole panel was about raising money in the healthcare space. At the end of the panel, the guy turns around and he goes, "Oh, did you understand everything? Did you want me to explain something to you?"
No.
That I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what you assumed. So, and obviously this is not about me, but it's about the founders that I coach. There's loads that come into that. There's behavioral biases. For example, when a woman shows confidence and she's seen as arrogant, or you get comments of who does she think she is, stuff. You have stereotype-based biases when, for example, a woman is pregnant, goes to ask for money, she's asked what is she going to do when she has the baby. That is also called the motherhood penalty, when a mother is not seen as a good businesswoman. There are representational biases when, there's not as many role models, or people are just do not see many role models, or have not seen many role models. Also the fact that a lot of investors or top people in VC firms, let's say, are men. So we need more women investors to get out there and start understanding women a little bit more. Also, it's not just about how women are perceived when they enter the stage, but also what affects the investment round is the questions that are being asked. I don't know what questions the two founders you talked about were asked, but I'm pretty sure one of the reasons why the woman didn't get the investment is because she was asked questions like, what happens if you fail? What happens if you need to exit the company? What happens if you get pregnant? What happens if your relationship with your co-founder doesn't work out? So women get asked all these like negative leading questions, which obviously affect the way the startup is perceived, because they have to keep protecting the startup in this more like negative connotation way, where men are asked more opportunity-led questions. For example, what do we do if we succeed? What do we do? How do you think you're gonna raise Series A? How do you think you're gonna exit or get acquired? Like all this stuff, they're more prone to a positive response, and all these minor things really affect the way the investment round ends in the end. So yeah, that's a little bit of
Yeah.
what we mean with gender biases and stereotypes.
Wow. I mean, it's such a huge insight that you just had. You can basically frame the same scenario from either or these angles, either the first one or the second one. I just realized that I also experienced that very much whenever I presented this solution as a product designer. It's very interesting just to see who asks the opportunity-led questions and the negativity ones. I could imagine that those female founders could show that they have as much answers as possible to those questions, that I'm prepared. I know what scenarios could happen and how I'm gonna react. And at the same time, you kind of defending your startup and maybe even yourself, and that's a very confusing feeling, because you don't want to defend yourself. You just come there as you are. You showed everything. You're transparent. You show the confidence. And you show the data, for example, and there is no need to really defend yourself as the startup. It would be awesome if we would balance out those questions and the response from investors to the FemTech. And one way to go is just like so awesome that you mentioned that, is to welcome women as investors in that particular role. And that's how the link between a woman citizen, a woman user, customer, consumer gonna need what FemTech startup would propose as the proposal to the need, and what the women investor would appreciate and choose in the end. Because by understanding what women need, what the audience, what the audience need, so it's all comes with the empathy, with understanding the needs. Like, for example, why fertility facilities and startups are needed, and sometimes it's also women investors who can get and bring the broader perspective to the table why this is actually needed. And that's so awesome that that's how the whole ecosystem works, and the whole how everything is interconnected. I would be happy to see that coming more and happening more.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's just so awesome to talk about, like the FemTech scene. I guess in there, looking at the time, I want to ask you about your experience, and that's been TEDx public speaker. You were at the TEDx scene and delivered your speech, and I'm just curious what was important for you to talk about on that stage, and how was the experience for you overall?
It was so fun while I was doing it. A little bit nerve-wracking, not gonna lie. I've done a lot of public talking. That TEDx is a complete different experience, completely different. I got it by chance. A lot of people ask me, "How did you get into it? Did you apply?" And not really. It was the perfect example of planting seeds. I
Mm.
delivered this free gig, this free talk at a university the year before. The organizer saw me and they said they were doing this TEDx event. Do you want to do it? And I applied with something completely different. Again, by chance, I was reading this confidence coach book at the time, and I said, wait, actually, I want to do it about this. And I got the gig. I went on stage, and it was so much fun. Like the response that I got from the audience was incredible. Like I said, women after they would come to me and say, "I cannot unsee this." I
Awesome.
started, yeah, I started my talk asking men to sit just like they think a woman would be sitting right now, and I asked women to sit just like they think a man would be sitting right now. And what happens is that men cross their legs, they get a little bit smaller, while take more space in the chair, their chin is higher, and they already feel a little bit more confident. And I remember like the audience just started laughing. They were just having so much fun with this. I didn't know how to stop them. I was like, okay, I just didn't expect that response. And every time I receive messages from either the founders that I coach or my friends saying, I'm in the tube. And there is this guy just like spread open next to me. Next to me, I have a woman who's giving me way too much space. Like, I cannot unsee this. I'm like, I know, I know. The first rule of the art of bragging that I always say is sit like a man, take the
Mm.
space. You walk a room like you own the space, take it, it's yours. Don't be an asshole, but like the space is you is really yours. So anyway, TEDx experience, fantastic. I loved it.
Also, like you're saying, take the space of the room unapologetically, and just be there. Use the attention to your benefit. Tell the story and be there. It's a very nice psychological experiment, and it's also suggests that you switch the roles. You feel yourself, especially like with the sitting, so with the whole body. You feel how it is to be a man or a woman in that space. But it's also very interesting. Everyone imagines it their own way, and somehow it turns out like kind of as there is a tendency how men see it,
Mhm.
how women see it, how they take on the space. Yes, it was very interesting exercise. And is there the link to the TEDx speech that you had that everybody could watch later on?
Yes, I can send it to you. You can have it below or somewhere, or you can. It's literally on my LinkedIn feature, so you can find it there quite easily.
Of course, of course. Thank you. Yeah, that would be awesome. All right. With the public speaking, I guess is just the story of the opportunity, but also quite a challenging. I personally also discovered that it's never easy. Did you experience when did you experience the lightness to the public speaking? What was the time? I know, like a 100 and something time, or this one. Whenever you feel like more confident and more less anxious. Of course, the anxiety is there and it's okay. But like it's more like, yeah, it's a habit. I can do that. I know how to interact with the audience.
Well, with me, I've always been really introverted. When I tell you, when I was a kid, my mom had to take me to the doctor because she said she doesn't talk. This girl doesn't talk, and I was just lazy, and I just didn't want to chat. And I've always been that person who just keeps her own ideas, or when you go to events and you really want to ask a question, you're just like squirming in the chair like, I want to ask these questions, but I'm so
Yeah.
scared of like asking in front of everyone. And I became a yoga teacher actually 2 years ago, which I always thought was very unrelated with everything that I'm doing now, but actually that's actually what got me into public speaking, because yeah, you're teaching to 10, 20, 30 people, but that's still public speaking. Like if you're leading a meeting, that's public speaking. And then I went from yoga teaching to do more mobility and flexibility workshops. So that was a different setting. And then I went to do corporate workshops, again, a different setting. And then with my community, I was doing more and more public speaking, into what now led me to, TEDx, speaking to 100 people and all this stuff, and going to events and also actually getting paid to speak. People always ask me, do I know how can I do it? Can I get rid of the fear of public speaking? I wish I had a better answer, but do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Because ultimately you get used to it. Like you said, you just get used to it. There's always nerves, there's always anxiety, again, like you said. We have this tendency to think that confident people, they're just confident and that's it, and that confidence is a universal aspect. It is not, it just really varies. I'm very confident now, but if we were talking about, I don't know, mathematics and physics, I'd be sweating profusely.
Yes, I can relate to that. We would have not spoken about it. It's like, no,
No.
let's switch the topic.
So you can be very confident in building a business, but then you need to transfer that confidence into your public speaking. That's the good news. Confidence is a skill that can be taught and learned. So that's really good. And also, we had this thought that, again, confident people are just confident. No, confident people are ultimately really brave people. Confident people do feel nervous, they do cry, they do all these things that make us human. They just feel the fear and do it anyway, as cliche as it sounds. If you want to prepare to do a speak in public, there's many little things that you can do. You can first of all prepare really, really well. You can visualize the worst possible outcome that can happen and visualize yourself doing it. So strategize around what are the worst possible things that can happen while I'm public speaking and what can I do about it. Because then when you go on stage, if those things happen, your brain is already like, ah, that's okay. We trained for this. And it happened to me during my TEDx. The worst possible thing that could happen to me during my TEDx was forgetting what I was going to say, because I'm really used to just having bullet points when I speak, whereas TEDx, they want you to write those scripts. So I felt like I had to learn everything by heart, and that really stressed me out. And that happened on stage. I was like going on, and then I forgot what I was going to say. I completely forgot. And there was a few moments where my brain was going, you need to run away. You can't do this. This is horrible. This is really scary. But then I thought, you know what? I trained for this. Could I take a deep breath in and out? And I'm gonna keep going. And I delivered like the second part of my talk was much, much better than the first bit because I got rid of that anxiety of what might happen. Also, if you're really scared right before a talk, do some jumping jacks. If I'm really nervous before I talk, I do 10, 15 jumping jacks, but that's because you need to get that adrenaline out. Do a lot of HIIT workouts, cardio that day before you talk. Get the adrenaline out before you go on stage. So you start to get rid of the fear and ultimately breathe slow. When we're scared, we talk really fast. That means we speak really fast. Sorry, we breathe really fast. If you train yourself to speak slower than you would, you're also breathing slower than you would, and that's activates your parasympathetic nervous system. You get a little bit calmer because what I tell people when I'm coaching them through public speaking or pitches, for example, like, talk honestly slower than you would to the point that it feels off. Because when you're actually on stage, you're gonna speak faster anyway. You're gonna speak faster, but if you're trained to speak very slow, you're actually going to speak at the normal pace once you're on stage. So there's a lot just like little tricks and things that you can do to make yourself a little bit more confident to like getting on stage. But ultimately, you gotta do it.
Yeah, ultimately you have to deliver, you have to do that. But the lovely tricks is all comes with the working with your body, with the adrenaline, with the speaking at the right pace. I think it's quite tricky, especially if you are on the clock. So basically, like you have 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and you want to squeeze in the whole message in that a few minutes. But at the same time, so it gives like extra pressure. But I like what you said, just the moment, the art of training and the art of bragging about yourself and about your message. I really love that. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you like also to mention to the audience? Any message?
I think if there is one thing that you can do today, whether you're building a business or you're not building a business, make a list. And this is like the essentials of the art of bragging. Make a list of all the things that you're really good at and repeat them to yourself. Tell them in meetings, tell them at networking events, just tell them, because that is really what trains your belief system on yourself. And the reason why I like the word bragging is because it feels very out there. And for us women, taking up space with our bodies, taking up space with our words, telling people exactly what we're really good at feels like bragging. It feels very out there, but it's actually not. Like it's very normal to do it. It's very normal to self-promote because if you don't self-promote for yourself, nobody else will ultimately. So it's really normal to self-promote. It feels like you're really exposed, but that's okay. That's how it's supposed to feel. Really exposing, and then the more you do it, the more it becomes normal. So, yeah, that's just a little nugget that I wanted to throw there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So keep on bragging, keep on working your path, and people like Giulia are there to help you. So today with us was Giulia Sale, founder of the Art of Bragging, confidence coach and public speaker. Video links and the book is going to be there in the episode description. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was the Women Who Tech podcast. Leave your comments, leave your feedback. Giulia and I are looking forward to that. It was awesome to have you here. Thank you, Giulia.
Thank you so much for giving me the space to talk about this. Awesome.
Absolutely.